Hello and welcome to another edition of Pulp Picks. My name is Patrick.
I'm Fritz.
And we're here to give you this week's reading recommendations on New Comic Book Day.
Mm-hmm.
And we almost had a writer's sweep.
Yeah.
We were very, very close. And it's a really heavy Marvel week.
Mm-hmm.
There's some new titles. There's some returning titles. A lot of staples that have become extremely popular in the Marvel book universe, the 616, and other universes.
Yeah. So, speaking of which, my pick this week, we're looking at Ultimates issue 2. If you can't tell from the cover, this is going to be a very Captain America-centric issue. Basically, the gist of this one is, so if you've been following along the Ultimate stuff, you know that like none of the like countries as we know in the world that really exist in this universe. They're all like turned into these like different like conglomerations by like the different members of the Makers Council.
Yeah.
And
there
obviously
regions that are ruled by
and so obviously for Captain America going the ice in 45 and then waking up to find out that America doesn't really like exist as like a country anymore. Obviously it's a bit much to take in. So what this issue is it's kind of coming back and forth between him getting caught up in like the last like I don't know, what was it, like 75 years of history, and at the same time cutting back to them having, like, they're leading an assault on the White House to find, like, there's something there that they're trying to get to, and they run into, honestly, kind of a surprising face, like, not someone you really expect to show up in comics too much, Midas, of all people. I think was originally, like, part of Morrison's Marvel Boys stuff from the early 2000s, and I think the only other time I can think of them showing up was Original Sin offhand.
Yeah,
so like
that sounds right.
So like in the main comics is like not a super common character to show up. To have them just be like the main antagonist of issue 2 like shows you like, oh, they're going to make like some interesting polls for this title.
Yes, and Midas is a jerk.
Oh my god, but he's also like one of those jerks that like he's just kind of fun to have because he's there's a certain like smarming of like he's so like sure of himself and everything that. It's just fun to when he finally gets his comeuppance. And the way it happens too is almost like super mundane.
It was really good.
But like it's, I don't know, just getting to see like Cap like kind of like try and process everything because like I'm very impressed with like how much they let Camp get to like really like flesh out like what's happened because you really get a good idea of like what things changed with like the Maker coming to this world, like what like. It's a lot of bad things happen.
Right,
like,
we see some little snippets of pivotal moments in history that are changed in order to to be more the Maker's narrative.
And I love because this series it's playing on a lot of stuff from like the original Ultimates comic from the early 2000s with Millar and Hitch. And I love they do their version of the, what do you think of the 21st century Cap? And it's just like cuts his bloodshot eyes. And it's just like, because like, he's just spent like a week in this immersion chamber just experiencing like horror after horror. And just like, spoiler, not a fan. And I'm very curious because this comic, a lot of it with him now seems to be like, okay, what does it mean to like be an American in a world where America doesn't exist anymore?
And nobody really cares.
Like
most of society thinks that they're better off without America. So it's Cap's job to save America for people who don't even know that they
so like saved. Or trying to figure out like what does it even like mean anymore, like can you go back, do you go back, like what is he supposed to be in this world that like he's functionally just has no reason to exist as what he is. And I love that there's a bunch of like really fun character stuff. Hank and Janet are still trying to figure out how to be super. I mean, they really all are. Like, Cap's the only one who's really kind of got his head on his shoulders about, like, how it is to, like, actually be in a fight. Like,
he's the only one with any practical experience.
There's, like, there's a great exchange with Tony and Midas because Midas has one of his dad's old armors and he's, like, kind of flipping out about it. And it's just, I love these little character beats between everyone.
And the art was great in it.
The art is, like, fantastic. I love, like... just like the slowly creeping horror across Steve's face through the entire thing. Like, that spoiler, we've had a fly that's been the bane of our existence for a couple days now, and
The last 24 hours have been trying.
Yeah. He will not leave us alone. It is our nevermore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But no, I again have been loving the entire Ultimates line. This title in particular was the one I was most excited for once it got announced, and it has not failed me yet. Cannot express how much I love it. Definitely come in and grab a copy. We sold out of issue 1. I wouldn't be surprised if we sold out of issue 2. These things just kind of fly off the shelf, so definitely stop in if you can.
Yep, absolutely. Some cool variants this week too.
Oh yeah, but yeah, and it's funny considering that Ultimates are like the Ultimate Avengers. Speaking of Avengers,
I went with Avengers number 16. Really, really enjoyed this little interlude during Blood Hunt, where instead of the main Avengers team, because they're featured heavily in the Blood Hunt event book, we're getting kind of the, I don't know, what did they refer to themselves as? Like not the B list or the bench.
Oh, they're
but kind of like the backup Avengers.
Like they're like the on-call Avengers.
Yeah.
Like.
So we've got Cap, we've got Hercules, Quicksilver, Hazmat, and Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, Hawkeye. And they are taking on Baron Blood on Helicarrier.
Yep, full
of vampires, yeah. And so this is the second issue.
The third.
Oh gosh, it's been so good. It feels like it's hardly... Okay, so it was a 3-issue arc. I highly recommend, even if you're not reading Avengers, which you should be because it's very good. But if, like the Cap, not super high profile, other members of the Avengers is a fun read for you, which honestly is kind of classic Avengers.
Like that's the thing, like that's part of the appeal a lot of times of like team books for me is getting to see characters that don't really get the limelight because they don't have their own solos, they don't really like get to do much. So it's just because a lot of these people, when was the last time they got to like be in a title? Like
Hazmat, Avengers Academy was the last time
she was in Thompson's Captain Marvel run for a bit.
Oh sure,
but yeah, a lot of these characters just like don't get the limelight, and so when they do, it's really fun and getting their interactions. Like I love Quicksilver with Hawkeye being like, oh, thank God, at least one of you is smart.
It was so good. And again, the art in this one's super cool.
So good.
I love it when they really emphasize the scales on Cap's uniform. And they make his classic uniform look really cool. But everybody looks great in this book. The vampires are decidedly...
monstrous?
Yeah, monstrous and transformed. And Baron Blood is... this is perfect timing, right after the 4th of July, we get 2 really good Captain America books, both with teams and both where, Cap is not surrendering to, the situation or how...
Like he finds a way to like persevere and like make it through.
Yeah, in even though things have changed greatly from his time, which is the core of Captain America.
The thing I love is that like both books are like very different in a lot of ways, and like their Captain Americas are very different in a lot of ways, but at the same time, like they still both feel like very much of the same like mold. Like you see like how they branch off into these 2 different people while still like maintaining that core part of the character. It feels
like these could both be different. Like, I understand they're different realities, but like up until the point that they were frozen in ice, these could be the exact same Steve Rogers.
We don't smell, we swear. The fly is just a jerk.
Yeah, flies are jerks. This book was really good. I'm sad to see this be the end of the team. We think maybe there's some
we know
it.
Like we know at least like a Cap and Herc are going to be in the new Avengers Assemble mini they've got coming out, which is kind of like spinning off the notion of just like, what happens when like the main Avengers are doing stuff? You gotta like put together a team quick. Like I think they refer to themselves as like the on-call team.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of notion. Just kind of having this like rotating roster of like who's available. Let's get them in. Like I love it. It's part of why I love the Justice League Unlimited cartoon growing. It's just like who's going to be like what's our assortment? We've got a Captain Atom, Freedom Beast, and the Creeper. Great, let's go. It's just like throwing a bunch of people in there. It can be a lot of fun. Yeah, well, and it was really fun to see these 2 old school Avengers that have big egos in Herc and Quicksilver
juxtaposed to Hawkeye and Hazmat, where they're being, I don't know, just the way that dynamic worked really well together. It's like, Hazmat bringing up when Herc did a demonstration at Avengers Academy and it was horribly inappropriate.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe not my best decision.
Yeah.
That was really
But hey,
funny.
look at us now.
Yeah, exactly. But now we're buddies. Ha ha.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, sure, okay.
All right. Well, no surprise. Actually, we did an all Marvel week here.
Yeah, all Marvel, all team.
And almost all particular writer. Which one was it, though? Was it Camp or was it Jed MacKay?
It was Jed MacKay because he's the writer of the new XMen #1 from Marvel. This is the official start of the From the Ashes relaunch, coming out of, obviously, the ashes of the Krakoan era. And they're starting off with a bang here. This comic, you see so many times when like a new book or like specifically a new team book, it can be like such a like slog trying to like establish like how, like what's the team dynamics, like what's the mission statement, what are they fighting against and what are they fighting for. You've seen plenty of books where like they kind of like drop the ball on that. Not the case here, obviously, since we're talking about it.
Yeah.
But they right out of the gate, right off the bat. There we go. I can't do these apparently, but you get a ton of action, but also like establishing like kind of like how everyone like is kind of driving together, and it's a lot of like good callbacks to like a lot of previous character dynamics without like kind of making you like unsure of like what they're talking about. It's I love in particular. If you had told me that Juggernaut was maybe going to be one of my standout faves for this run already,
right?
Like his interactions with everyone is just really fun because he's aiming to please. He's aiming to prove that like, oh, I deserve to be here.
Yes.
And it's funny how it's kind of rubbing a lot of the others the wrong way.
Yes. Yeah, and in the past, Juggernaut on the X-Men hasn't been my favorite. I generally like him better as a villain, but this was really well.
Yeah, I love like him and Magic. Like they're both like, I'm the big gun. Screw you, no, I'm the big gun. And like,
yeah, it's very much like they're counting kills of orcs or something.
Yeah, it's very much that kind of moment. And like you get like Quentin and Edie, like their whole like, because they've got a bunch of history together and had very different paths during the Krakoan era, and kind of like having those like dovetail back together. And I was just like, oh yeah, where were you when I was like in prison doing war crimes? That's right. Like,
yep.
And obviously I'm so excited that, because like one of the big things right up leading into Krakoa was like splitting Betsy and Kanon back into like their own like separate like bodies. So getting to have Kanon still be like Psylocke and be still like such a prominent member of the team is like super fun to see.
Yeah.
And then Betty's going to be coming up in the new X-Force title. Like I like that they, because I don't know, I hate to see when they just kind of like throw a character to the wayside. So seeing both of them get to like have the spotlight is really cool.
Yeah. I'm doing a read through of classic X-Men or X titles, New Mutants, X-Force, X-Men, and so I'm seeing the pre-combined Betsy and all of that, and so yes, it's also very cool to see them now post all of that. It's a fun dynamic. I really, really like Beast in this one, and I was very concerned about where's Beast going to be post Krakoa.
Yeah, because I don't know, do we want like a minor spoiler alert for like what happened with him there?
Yeah, plug your ears and say no.
Yeah,
no.
So they get into it a little here, but so the Beast we have isn't technically the Beast we've had for a bit, because the Beast we had kind of went like full like crazy terrorist, and thankfully they had a backup clone of him that didn't have to experience any of that. But at the same time now it's like, it's the weird thing of just like everyone else is like mourning Krakoa, and he's just like, I never got to like, I never got
it.
Like the literal high point of like mutant like culture after like forever like awfulness happening, and I didn't get to experience any of it. Like it. So I love him having to deal with that.
Well, and also knowing that he's got the potential to do that.
Yeah, like it's not just that he missed out on all the best stuff. He did miss out on the worst stuff for himself personally, but also knowing like, oh, I'm capable of that. That's not great.
Yeah.
But
it's okay because he's overseeing a greenhouse now.
Yeah. Nothing could go wrong. I love there's a bunch of little other minor characters that show up. You get a little Glob Herman, you get a little Zorn. I love Magneto in here. He's that perfect like combination of just like he's obviously like here to be like a good guy, but he's also just like if you mess with us, it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and we had one of our Tuesday night regulars, Paul, in last night, and he saw the Scotty Young variant cover, and he's like, "Is that Magneto floating around in like an egg chair?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, why not? Why have we not had this before? Magneto should be floating around in an egg chair. It's awesome.
But like all the characters, that was great. We haven't really talked about the art. The art is fantastic. Ryan Stegman is back. You probably know him best from the Kate's run on Venom. Absolutely knocking it out of the park. Everything is dynamic and action packed, and even the quiet moments, like he really like his facial work. Like there's like we were talking about the Beast stuff. There's like his expression. Sorry, when he has to like kind of like reflect on the stuff that he wasn't there for. It's just like you really feel like he is like not like in the best place when it comes to that.
Right, yeah.
It's fantastic. There's some shadowy new threats that are popping up. On a related note, a little annoying thing. There's a big QR code at the end, which is you have to scan to actually get like this like post-credit scene to like kind of find out a little. To find out more about the villain. So that's kind of annoying. Wish they hadn't done that, but yeah.
I just assumed it was some kind of advertisement or something.
I mean, it's an annoying little thing. That's really the only negative I have because everything else here is just fantastic way to start the run.
Yeah, no, I because Stegman did some filling on Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's done some Spider-Man. He was like he did part of the original like Superior Spider-Man run back in the day.
Yeah. And he also, I think he was the guy who gave Venom toes, right?
He might have been.
Yeah,
he might have been.
So.
That's you know who you are for why we're bringing this up. but no, it's great. I love. They're also the dynamic that they're building with the town that their base is next to.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't want to give anything away, but it's kind of a running theme with the X-Men. Where do we fit in the world? The town's kind of got, I don't know if you watched True Detective Season 4, but it's kind of got a True Detective Season 4 kind of vibe. It's in Alaska. Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And they're in an abandoned factory.
Yeah, abandoned Orcus factory, which is like, so it's got the interesting stuff of just like, hey, we've just got like a bunch of like Sentinel remnants flying around. So
yeah, the dynamics there are going to be that, and I love it when they do that as much as they do like the villain plots and what's our team dynamic and all that kind of stuff. It's also the where do we fit in the world? How do we interact with the community that we're in? I love that kind of stuff. Well, what almost made it up here for you?
So we were talking about that we almost had like a complete Jed MacKay sweep. This week we got issue 0 of Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu. So I spoiler alert for Blood Hunt because there's no way to get around it if we're going to talk about it. Mark Spector is back. Khonshu's been freed. So,
wait! They killed somebody in a comic book and brought them back.
I know, right? Yeah. So we got a couple more issues of Vengeance of Moon Knight, and then in October we've got the official launch of the new main Moon Knight title. It's still Jed MacKay, and I feel bad blanking on the artist's name, but it's like the creative team that's been doing the whole thing, and
it's close to Cappuccino.
He's not wrong from what I remember.
Yeah.
But so it's. Issue 0 is kind of getting a primer, getting you caught up if you haven't been reading. Yeah, getting you caught up. So it's basically just Khonshu giving you the rundown on like the entire cast of characters. Like, oh, here's this person. Here's these like threats that might be coming up.
Right.
Here's what I don't like this person because like it's funny getting his like personal opinions on like 8-Ball of all people kind of thing. Like it's like just like this guy kind of sucks, but I find him intriguing.
Yeah,
like
he's such a loser. He offends me, and yet.
But no, that was a good one. Obviously, Transformers continues to be great. Warning to people who like whales: bad things happen to whales.
Yeah.
The animals, not the country.
Right.
Though the way things are going, bad things could also happen to the country too.
Right.
But no, those were both great. What about you, Patrick?
Yeah, both of those. Ain't No Grave continued to be good. I also checked out the it's not a what if, but the alternate ending to the whole when Robin got beat to death.
What if he lived?
To death. Turns out he actually did. But so what would have happened there? That's DeMatteis is doing that, right? So that was a good start. We'll see where it goes.
Oh, we got a new printing of that Doom one shot from a couple months ago.
Yeah,
so if you missed out on that, definitely grab that. It's fantastic.
Annihilation 2099 continued to be good. It was fun to see the new Star-Lord and Quasar. That was kind of interesting. I get a little bit better what we're setting up here.
Yeah,
we're setting up pieces for the larger story, which is the follow-up.
It's funny because we talked about the last week with the Nova issue, just like, cool to see like what they do with any of the stuff after this, and then literally later that day they announced like, there's another like follow-up miniseries that's going to have all these characters coming out after this.
Yeah, so this is like a weekly release where it's a different future alternate 2099 character each week, and then that's setting up this larger mini event.
Yeah, spoiler, maybe that Dracula backup is more important than you thought.
Yeah, because it turns out they drop the end of that in here again, just to make sure you didn't miss it last time. And then all the mentions that you had as well. It's a really big Marvel week. It's a little lighter on DC, but DC we've been getting a bunch. Absolute Power coming out, and
they might be gearing up for if you're in the rumor mill, there might be some big stuff for them coming this fall.
Sounds like another shakeup.
San Diego's in about 2 weeks. Looks like we're going to get a lot of big announcements.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of new titles, a lot of new creative teams.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for me this week was post Krakoa, I was really nervous.
I was so scared, and if this is any indication, I was wrong to be. Because strong start. We've still got copies of their kind of like primer, their free primer for all the new titles. So if you want to grab one of those, see if any of this stuff. We've already had a bunch of people like now getting signed up for stuff, being like, no, I'm seeing this. This is looking interesting. Yeah. I'm already scared about how many things I'm going to have to add to my full list.
Yeah, in fact, I was surprised how few copies we had of this based on what we had for pre-orders when I did the order for it versus what we ended up having. So people have been adding it quickly. So hurry in or get on the app. And
we do have plenty of variants, so try and grab one of those too if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. The comic book sale is still running through the end of the month, so it is 50% off on dollar books. We've got tens of thousands of them for you to be able to go through, and more in the back, so they are getting restocked. So even if you've been through the dollar books, come in and check them out again. The regular back issues are 20% off, and wall books, so that's individual comics $50 and up, are 10% off. So some great deals. I know we've had a ton of people emailing us saying that they're coming in from out of town and so forth. So
we've had people filling up boxes of stuff.
Yes, and we've set aside plenty of boxes, so we've got it ready for you to be able to easily carry them all out to your car at such a good deal, like 50 cents a comic. Like that's just impossible to beat. And there's brand new stuff. There's stuff from like the 70s and classic stuff, and there's only so many regular back issues that we can fit in our inventory. So a lot of really good books end up in the dollar section. So come on in and set aside a couple hours to dig through stuff. There's plenty to find. We will be back next week with more picks on the new releases. In the meantime, we hope that we see you here in the store. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, comment, all those good things. And until next week, enjoy the reading.
Buy the Human Fly.